Computer. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another interview for the 2020 North American Systemic Constellations Conference, to be held hopefully in Colorado Springs this November from the 11th to the 15th. I'm Jim Shine. I'm the program chair for the conference, and today my guest is Brigitte Sztab, long-time facilitator. Been facilitating for 20 years. Actually learned about it in the late 1990s. So welcome, Brigitte. We'd love to have you here. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. So, thanks for having me.
And I guess to start off, could you describe your history in a constellation field, how you got hooked up into it, and what you've done over the years? Because I know your history goes back a ways.
Yeah. It's. I think my start was like many other people's starts. You have a personal problem or conflict, and you're looking for solutions. And for me, it was the divorce from my husband that I was going through. We had 2 little kids. Communication was extremely difficult, if not impossible. And my sister called me from Germany, and she said, there are these workshops that people are doing here now. And I was just kind of, getting a little bit out into the mainstream over there. And she said her boyfriend had gone to a family constellations workshop, and that they can resolve family issues without anyone else from the family having to be there. And I said, sign me up. This is what I need, because, I wanted to resolve it, but I couldn't talk to him. So, so on my next visit, which was only a month or 2 later, that summer, I had the opportunity to attend a workshop with Brigitte Sztab of Frankfurt, Germany. And it was a Thursday through Sunday workshop with 20 people in it. And I was absolutely taken with the power of the work. My heart felt it had come home for the first time into a group where the heart was actually asked to speak, and I asked Brigitte Sztab in a break. I said, would you come to America? Because I knew I wanted to do more of this work, and it was so new in Germany, and nobody really that I knew had heard of it in America, at least not here in Washington. So to my surprise, he said, so yeah, if you organize a workshop, I'll come. Like that, and I had no idea how to do that, and how to get people in a circle, especially in my tiny town. We have only 4,000 people, so it's not.
You're in central Washington State, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are in a tourist town in Chelan, Washington. That's where I live, and I didn't know anybody else anywhere else in the state at that point. I only knew people around me, and so. That was in 1997, and so for the following year, I actually learned how to use a computer. I learned how to make a brochure, and I talked to people and invited them. And the following year, 1998, was the first time that Bert Henninger came to Seattle. I think it may have been the first time for him. Total. I mean, to come to the United States. I'm not sure what was going on the East Coast at that time. But he came in 1998 at the invitation of Dr. Klinghardt, so I could see him in action. There were only 50 people in the workshop. That's how new the work was here. And I met several other facilitators from Germany who were also here at the time, accompanying Henninger or just being here by themselves. And so this is kind of, this is how it started for me. Brigitte Sztab came, and I had 16 people in the room, and everybody had a good experience and wanted more. So he came back in November, and so he came twice a year to Chelan. And in 1999 we went to Seattle. Some people from Seattle that I had met over there at other people's workshops, because it was just kind of fledglingly starting with facilitators coming to the United States. So I had met a woman named Anatosh Fu at one of the workshops, and she had a pretty terrible experience. And I said, come to Chelan, you have to meet Brigitte Sztab. He's so wonderful, and she came and agreed. So she then helped us get into Seattle, and I continued organizing these workshops. There was, there wasn't really a training that happened there, but there was a group of very interested people around Dietrich. And so we picked his brain, and he took extra time to teach us and to answer questions. And I myself stood in the constellations with him a lot of the time, because his English was not always good, and he didn't always 100% understand what people meant to say when they said something. And people didn't understand 100% what he wanted them to say. And so I was sort of the go-between, and all the energy,
Translator.
had to go through me, and so I started understanding the work without really understanding it much in my mind. I just was in the energy, and in 2001, everybody said, you are ready, you should work. If you're not gonna start, nobody will.
Sure.
And I had, and I jumped in. A group of friends organized a workshop, invited people at no cost, and I got to have my first workshop, and I never stopped since.
So you've been facilitating for 19 years, right?
Yeah, it's been this is my 20th year facilitating. If I can facilitate more than a little bit online,
Online's a big challenge for all of us, but we're adapting. And you've trained some people yourself too, right?
I have been training since 2004, which also was something that just sort of fell in my lap, because some of my clients said, we want you to teach us. And I thought, okay, well, I really had no intention of doing that. I don't feel maybe that I have enough experience, but if the students are there, the teacher must be ready. So I did get ready, and I have taught every year since then. I have a group of people that go with me through a year or two, or sometimes 3 even.
Great. So you're doing a pre-conference on Wednesday. You're doing a presentation there, a half-day presentation, and the title of that is Healing from Female Reproductive and Sexual Trauma. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
As you probably know yourself, Jim, the majority of workshop clients are women. And
yes.
So over 20 years, you see female trauma in all its forms. And it's not just reproductive trauma or sexual trauma. It's generations of degradation of women being basically traded, bought and sold by fathers, brothers, you name it, having no real agency of their own lives. And particularly in America, where they were also then stranded without their own biological families, and having to have male protection. And if they had kids, they needed a provider. So they had to basically sell their services, in order to be protected. All of this trauma and the self-esteem traumas of women not counting, women not having a voice, women being second choice, when kids were given away in very numerous families, it was always the girls that that had to leave and be given to somebody who could feed them, and who knows what happened to them. I mean, it's pretty. When you don't have a family to go back to that cares about you, you're really much more prone to these kinds of traumas. And I found in my years of working that sexual trauma, incest, all of that comes into the workshops exponentially more than what I see when I work in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that sounds like a really interesting one. And then you're also doing a regular 2-hour workshop in the main conference called From Passion to Profession. Which basically sounds like along the lines of making a living doing this thing. So many of us have to keep our day jobs to survive. It's a passion, but not a career. So would you like to talk about that a little bit?
I suggested that I have this offering when I heard that part of the conference was supposed to be dedicated to, this dilemma that so many people have in getting their work started and getting groups together and all of that. And I presented the same workshop. It was not really a workshop. It was more of a lecture, really, back at the San Diego conference. And so I thought I can throw that in. And the gist of what that is, it's not a marketing workshop. So if you if you're looking for tools, online and social media and all of that good stuff, that's not the focus of my talk. The focus of my talk is more of the facilitator stance, because, the way I see it, this work is a privilege to be doing, and being of service to people is a privilege. And it's not something that you just go and take a course and then you have the certificate and you get started. I feel, from my own struggles, and the first 10 years were a struggle to make a profession out of this, to have an income, to not having to rely on any other source of income during that time, and splitting my energy between, two different ways of earning a living. So I know the struggle, and I share what worked for me, from and what kept me going, what helped me succeed, some pearls of wisdom that I collected on the way. So it is more philosophical, philosophical workshop, lecture, than it is do this, do that, do the next thing.
So a little more soul work than a cookbook. Huh?
Yes, because I think a lot of people, they and I did too at first. I approached it as, okay, I'm going to learn this, and then pretty soon we realize, I think a lot of people realize that the deeper they go into their training or into the work itself, the more daunting it seems to ever become a master at this, or to ever really have what it takes. And so for me, I can share what helped me in this in this way of going forward and finding the courage, and my interaction with the field in all of this. So this is it's my experience, and it's my philosophy for sure. But I think it is it's pretty universal when you really find your passion and you want to do something, whether you're an artist, and you struggle making money with your art, but that's what your soul's purpose, called you to do. So I'm hoping that I can share, something that helps other people not to get discouraged. And I feel that the struggle in the beginning is part of it. It's not adversity. Well, it is adversity, but it's adversity that we grow from. Because if it was too easy, we may have a whole lot of people in this field who don't belong there. I feel it's sort of like it's something that I have to pay these years. I have to pay the struggle a little bit for the immense reward of being able to be of service and to interact with the field that nourishes me so much every day.
Yeah. Well, I usually ask people why they're passionate about this, but it's pretty obvious from your earlier answers. You don't need to answer that.
From day one.
Is there anything else you want to add that I haven't asked while you have the audience?
Well, I very much hope that we can all get together, because being together in the heart is, it's just undescribably beautiful. That's why I go to all the conferences. I have not missed a single one since the very first one. To meet your peers, to get encouragement, to learn maybe some new tricks that you can use. I'm sure that there's a lot more online advice now that people are doing that more, and who knows what the future brings. But I just want to say, you know, come to the conference, because there's always something wonderful there. If it's only the community of like-minded and like-hearted people.
Yes, I agree. We hope to have it physically, or maybe a combination of physical and virtual. We're still looking at options, but you know, we can manage virtually, but there's nothing like actually being there. So
yeah. So I'd like to add that in the workshop on female reproductive trauma,
yes,
I plan on setting constellations, you know, however many we have time for. I don't know what my time slot is exactly.
I think it's like 4 hours. It's half a day.
Oh, good. Yeah. Then we can really, we can really get to work, because that's really, for me, that's where it's at. And I want to, and I may comment a little bit. I may, you know, we may set a constellation and then have a question and answer period about that constellation. Maybe we'll, you know, we'll get to set more constellations than that. But that's I want it to be an experiential thing, not talking so much.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one, if I have 2 hours, I don't think I need all that much for, you know, just kind of saying what I have to say. So we could actually set constellations in that one too. And I'm going to have to think about it a little bit, or maybe do some exercises. So I have to come up with something experiential, because that's what people like the most.
Yes. Yeah, it's preferred, but I have total confidence in you.
Thank you.
Well, Brigitte, thanks so much for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you at the conference in November. Thank you very much.
Me too. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh.